Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We are here in California at Thermal Raceway for the North American media launch of this car right here. This is it. This is the all-new Porsche 911 GT3 RS. But before we get into this massive aero-intensified 9,000 RPM screamer, let's talk about what's going on here. Porsche. I love the 1980s slogan, Porsche, there's no substitute, because that is what Porsche is trying to prove with this vehicle. Now, the GT3 RS has been a very special car because the letters RS stand for Rennsport or racing sport, and this is going to be the closest race pedigree that you could find for the streets and definitely for racetracks like Thermal Raceway. Now, if you're wondering, well, Joe, when did the GT3 RS first come about? It actually came about not too long ago, in 2003. So about 20 years ago is when they launched the original 911 GT3 RS. From there, it's been a racetrack love affair, and each evolution really bumping things up. And that's what Porsche is all about with the 911. It is purely evolution, not revolution, going back to the 1960s, if you could believe that. Now, there are other Porsches, especially 911s, that are available. One of those that many people associate with performance is the 911 Turbo and Turbo S. You look at the spec sheets, you might make your decision up 1, 2, 3 after looking at the sheets. But guess what? I'm gonna take it a little bit further for you and bring this GT3 RS out onto the track. So what I want to find out is, if you're looking for that Porsche 911 that truly is the performance special, is the GT3 RS the one to go with, or should you go with a 911 Turbo S? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, this beautiful ice gray finish has a nice mixture of some white, but also with some metallic silver, and that's the color that goes hand in hand, like PB&J with Porsche is silver, because back in the original racing days, you painted your car your country's color, and guess what? This being a German car, always was painted silver. Now, when we come at the front of the business, we're going to talk about why this car is the way that it is. Why does it look the way it is? I'm not going to show you the usual ins and outs. If you haven't seen our walk around from the LA Auto Show, I'll leave that review at the end of this one. But I specifically want to talk about the special aerodynamic pieces. First of all, you'll notice the extra width of the car. So we have a little bit of extra width at the front end. One of the biggest changes, and the first time ever on a 911, instead of having multi-individual radiators, we have one single radiator underneath that front nose hood area. Normally, there would be a front-mounted trunk on the GT3 RS. Because of that single massive radiator, there is no frunk at the front end of the business. But all of this aero, all the air is going to come in, of course, through the front, be channeled in those air curtains, and of course, the massive splitter to stop as much air as possible from going underneath the car to give us that maximum downforce. Now, when we rise up, you'll notice that this particular one has the YSAC package. How do you know that? That is because of the carbon fiber that's showing through. Now, on your standard GT3 RS, the parts that are going to be carbon fiber are just like the YSAC. It's just the difference is they let that beautiful carbon fiber shine through. You'll also notice how they do everything to cut weight, including making the Porsche crest from Stuttgart an actual sticker rather than a badge. But the YSAC package helps kind of lessen the weight in a few ways, not only from less paint, but also wait until we get to the wheels. But basically what's going to happen is air is going to come at the front of the car. It's then going to get cooled, cooling that radiator, and then it's going to exit these two front-mounted heat extractors. Now what's interesting, and I'm going to have Lori kind of swing around on the other side or on this side, you could see the aero that's been added. The whole point of this is to get the air to go split like a V. Not only is that going to give us downforce, not only is that going to help cool the radiator, but the one thing they don't want to have happen is the hot air go over the hood and then down the back glass of the Porsche 911. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So air comes in, it's gonna be pulled out, and now we're gonna put it like a V going towards that back glass area. Now, as we come around the bend, there's a couple different things I wanna show you. First of all, we got the arrow on the side to help channel that air down the side of the vehicle. We don't wanna kick it out too far. We wanna keep it as close to the body as we can. When you go YSAC package, you're gonna get these magnesium wheels. So there's 3 different types of wheels. You have forged aluminum, a lightweight forged aluminum wheel, and these magnesium. These are gonna be less weight, less rotating mass, and less weight at all 4 corners. Plus, I'm loving the indigo blue. Let me know what you think about the color scheme on this one with the Arctic silver and then, of course, with the indigo blue. This particular one has your standard steel brakes. Now, if you're thinking that these are the same steel brakes that you could get on your 911 Turbo S, they're not. On the GT3 RS, they actually thicken the rotors to help them last longer, and you're still gonna get massive braking capability from them. Now, one thing that you're not gonna be able to see, I would have to pull off some of this body work, is underneath both sides of the corners are these active doors, these shutters that open and close. What they do is they allow the air that's coming in underneath the vehicle to then come into the fender and exit out this top fender vent. This is stuff that they learned from the 911 RSR race car. You can see how aggressive that is coming out that fender. And that's another thing. You have a carbon fiber front mounted hood cover, carbon fiber fenders, and for the first time on a GT3 RS, carbon fiber doors. And these doors are specific to the RS, and I'll show you why. But air is coming out, that's gonna help us give downforce, and you have those doors opening and closing. We got 20-inch wheels up front with those massive 6-piston Brembo calipers with the Porsche script. I'm gonna have Lori kind of swing around and showcase that side arrow that's gonna help smooth out the air down the side of the vehicle. And even the way that they cut this area from the fender into the door. This is unique to the RS carbon fiber door. We're keeping that air nice and close, like a nice blanket on a cold winter day. Down the side of the vehicle, you can see the side sill. And another thing you'll notice is going back to 1972 on those RS Carreras, I love the way they have the new script where you got the GT3 and the way that they did the RS. Remember, racing sport, Ren Sport, carbon fiber doors. Of course, we have on this one carbon fiber mirror caps, even carbon fiber triangles where your window goes up and down, carbon fiber roof. Now, another thing I want to show you on the roof are these guys right here. These are not for downforce. What these 2 blades are is to stop that hot air that's coming out from the front of the car, and we want to have it go past this area. And the reason why we want to do that is because the engine does not cool here. So as we kind of come back around, this area right here, where on your 911 Turbo S, this would feed cool air for your flat 6 turbocharged engine, twin turbocharged engine. This actually is for aero. So air comes in here, and then it's gonna exit nice and close to the body on this lower portion. And out back, when you see this aero, combined with the aero, you're gonna have these massive sticky tires. So we have 20-inch wheels up front, 21-inch wheels in the back, 335 on this rear-wheel drive 911 GT3 RS. And remember, on a 911 Turbo, you have all-wheel drive. So this has rear-wheel drive. On the rear calipers, they actually increased the diameter of the pistons in that caliper to give you better braking capability. Now, as that air exits out, you're probably saying, well, Joe, how does this engine breathe? How does it get the fuel from the air? It all comes down to the air in between those 2 air veins. It's gonna come right into this area. So it's gonna force feed the air into this back scoop area designed specifically to feed the 6 individual throttle bodies at the tail end of the business for that horsepower. Remember, this car is truly rear-wheel drive because the engine is past the rear axle. And then, of course, the big shocker is this massive rear wing. Now, we talked about, I mentioned how this car mimics the 911 RSR, which is their endurance race car. That's 1 Le Mans in its class, 1 Sebring, 1 Daytona. This has technology from Formula 1. And we got a nice little fighter jet flying over right now. It's all about performance out here at Thermal Raceway. So this swan neck, this is technology that's been taken from the race cars, the endurance race cars. This provides less drag, but just as much downforce. And then you'll also notice how this has a drag reduction system. So this rear carbon fiber, this bare carbon fiber part on the YSAC package actually raises and lowers. It could do it automatically under acceleration and braking, or you can adjust it from the cockpit. You got these massive end plates, and part of the reason why this wing is so tall is not about looking like a race car, it's about giving clean, cool air off the hood and the roof of the vehicle for this wing, and then the rest of the cool air is gonna feed that flat six, naturally aspirated 4-liter engine. Now, when we get to the tail end of the business, love the way it's got the clear brake light. You got the Porsche badge all blacked out, GT3 RS, and then of course trickling down, you got that massive rear diffuser plucked right off of a race car with your twin exhaust outlets in that black finish. We have a 309 rear gear with an electronically controlled limited slip diff that you can control from the steering wheel. And then remember also, this is the first 911, the GT3 and the GT3 RS, to have double wishbone front suspension. What does that mean? Think about Thanksgiving Day. You know the wishbone that you want to break off with a friend? This has double wishbones for the front suspension, and they actually have aerodynamically made the suspension pieces help create airflow and downforce. On the YSAC package, most of the anti-roll bars and parts underneath the car are pure carbon fiber, not aluminum, not any other kind of metal. So that's something unique. And then of course, talking about horsepower, what do we got? We got that flat 4 naturally aspirated engine pumping out 518 horsepower, 342 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 with launch control, and that 7-speed PDK is 2.9 seconds. Quarter mile is gonna blaze by at 10.9 seconds. Top speed, it may disappoint you, is around 184 miles per hour. The reason why is because of all the downforce. And that's the thing, comparing it to the 911 Turbo S, the Turbo S has over 600 horsepower, the Turbo S has all-wheel drive, the Turbo S has faster 0 to 60, but what's gonna happen when we take this out onto the track? And then of course, downforce. At 176 miles an hour, in this configuration, you're producing over 1,800 pounds of downforce. That is what allows this to be a lethal track weapon. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to the interior and see what special things the GT3 RS has over the Turbo S. Guys, before we get inside, I want to show you underneath the front mounted trunk area, or normally where there would be a trunk, you have that full carbon fiber hood area. Love the way you can see the carbon fiber. And then focusing down below, this is the only 911 that you will see this, that single front mounted radiator behind the wire mesh screen is going to allow that technology taken from the 911 RSR and be put in this car on top of the double wishbone suspension up front. Remember, wishbone, it looks like V's. So you're going to have 2 sets of V's on each side. That's gonna help with the handling of this car. But why don't we go ahead, let's finally get inside and show you what's special about this YSAC. All right guys, we're inside this Arctic Gray 911 GT3 RS. I know you're saying to yourself, well Joe, I wanna treat myself. The kids, they graduated from high school, from college, they're out of the house. I don't have to pay for them anymore. It's now time to treat myself. I've been looking at a 911 Turbo, but I've always dreamed about being a race car driver just like Patrick Long. Patrick Long really is my hero. I want a race car like he used to race. How much is this one? Very good question. So starting price for a 911 GT3 RS is around $223,000. This YSAC package and all the other bits comes up to $282,000. Just to give you a hint, the YSAC package itself is $33,000. But let's see what you get for the money. To the carbon fiber door panels. Love the leather, love the stitching. You'll notice that you have that tether cloth to pull open the door, carbon fiber for the actual door pull. That's part of the YSAC package. You got enough room in that back pocket for a couple race Twinkies, but you better not eat them in my 911 GT3 RS. Those are for the Ferrari owners. the Lambros, and everybody else that you beat at the track. Give it to them as a consolation gift. Going from the door panel to the dash, you'll notice all the carbon fiber, the YSAC package. And if you're wondering why they call it YSAC, that is the official Porsche test track. That's why they call it that. You get to the infotainment system, you're gonna get that same great 10-inch infotainment system. Make all of your adjustments from aerodynamics, sport exhaust, the whole shabam. Of course, we got the Sport Chrono package because we got the clock up there. Love the Alcantara Race Techs. That's what Porsche calls us, Race Tech material. The GT silver stitching. You're gonna have your metal toggle switches for your axle lift system, traction control, AC in a race car. Most people would wish that their race cars had AC. This is gonna control that 7-speed PDK. Now the reason why they do a 7-speed rather than the turbo's 8-speed is that going the 7-speed, it's over 40 pounds lighter. The transmission is over 40 pounds lighter. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, what kind of track time does this turn? Jörg Bergmeister turned a 6-minute, 49-second lap around the Nordschleife in a GT3 RS YSAC setup just like this. More carbon fiber. Of course, you got the Porsche key fob with the RS button. Gives you that little special touch. Race Tech material. And then you'll notice this carbon fiber brace. So the actual bracing, instead of metal, is carbon fiber. That saves weight. And we have the carbon fiber buckets with the YSAC package, and it actually has the track map. So if you've never been there, you can see what the track map is. There's that carbon fiber, all one piece. So the only adjustment you get is forward and back. You can see the bolstering, the Race Techs, the leather. Race Techs all over the interior in here. I feel like I'm wrapped in a Race Techs blanket. But why don't you come over here at the business end, because this is where it gets really special in the RS. All right, guys, come on into my GT3 RS. The reason why I say that is I'm taking this one home with me. I don't care what anybody says. But you know what? This has a lot of special touches. What's gonna welcome you is that beautiful carbon fiber with the GT-RS script, just like the original 72 Carrera RS pedal box, right out of a Le Mans race car. Nice large dead pedal, brake pedal, and throttle. Seats. Now, most would say these are uncomfortable once you fall in, because that's what you have to do. Get your helmet on and fall in. I feel snug as a bug in a Porsche race car rug. Nice side bolstering, they're super light and they look damn good. Steering wheel, right out of almost a freaking race car, because this is unique to the GT3 RS. You got your PASM adjustments with your suspension, compression and rebound, traction control, your different modes. You got your drag reduction system that you can manually control. And we have these awesome magnesium paddles, Race Techs all the way around. And then of course, you have a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel and that nice large tachometer that redlines at 9,000 RPM in this car. It weighs, if you're wondering, well, Joe, what does the RS weigh? It weighs a little bit more than 3,200 pounds, which for a street car with air conditioning and all the other goodies is quite impressive. But you know what? It's about that time. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle, on track with the GT3 RS. Let's rock and roll. All right, guys, we're rolling out off pit road at Thermal Raceway. Glad to have you in the passenger seat with me in this 911 GT3 RS. What we're gonna focus on this first session is really getting an idea of how quick the car transitions left to right, and of course, the downforce. So amazing, the balance of this car. The downforce is so impressive. what's going on here? The car has so much downforce. Remember, more downforce than any other 992, any other GT3 RS. It turns so quick left to right and right to left. But you can just feel how balanced the car is at the front, out the back, and it allows you to just feel so comfortable. The PDK transmission is so good. I know a lot of people like to shift with the paddles. I just let the automatic do it because it is that good of a dual clutch transmission. Obviously, when it comes to these carbon fiber seats, they hold you in perfectly. I was able to really feel just how much grip the front of the car was giving me, especially in those tighter turns. And it is quite impressive. The thing I love about it is that it feels like a 911 is supposed to. Very, very, you know, confidence inspiring, especially with all the technology, and just a pleasure. You get it and understand why Porsche, there is no substitute. And driving in this environment is where, if you had a 911 Turbo S, even though you got all-wheel drive, even though you got more horsepower, this car outperforms it on the track. It's not about the drag strip. Even though it will run the quarter mile in 10.9 seconds, it's about the twisty bits, and you know that's what I'm all about. All right, guys, we're going out for stint number 2, and we're really gonna start to up the pace. What I wanna focus on is the PDK and the horsepower performance from the engine. Remember, we're talking about 6 individual throttle bodies. That flat 6, I know comparing it to a Turbo S, you're short on the horsepower, or even a turbo, but the flat 6 really shines on the racetrack. The torque delivery is so linear, and I know comparing this, like I said, to the Turbo S, hell, comparing it to a Z06 Corvette, you're down on horsepower and you're down on torque. But let's get real, 1,800 pounds of downforce. Unbelievable. All right, guys, last stint. We're gonna take in the whole big enchilada. Look at every component and just talk about the master of this car. I tell you, the whole car makes you feel invincible. The downforce, the steering feedback, the grip level from the Michelin Cup 2s, just absolutely mind-blowing. But let's get back to the garages where it all started and wrap this one up. I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, this has been one of the most special experiences here at Thermal Raceway. This is what I dream about every night I go to sleep. Definitely want to thank the whole Porsche team for inviting us out to the racetrack to show off the GT3 RS. But let me know what you think. Are you going to go with the more tried and true 911 Turbo S, where you have the all-wheel drive, you got over 600 horsepower, you got an 8-speed PDK and all those other goodies? Or are you wanting that most performance focused? And when we talk about performance, I showed you what that equated to out on the track. Let me know in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit the subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raiti's Rides family. We need to give it up to the hardest person, or I should say hardest working person in the whole video industry, Lori Raiti, the best in the biz. She's got a jacket with that name across the back. Show her some love in the comment section. Thank you, Lori, for living up to that name that you have been given over the time by many people in the industry. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.